Okay, we're back with Zevka, and we are going to be making pineapple upside down cake. So we're going to start with our first couple ingredients. So I'm going to need a saucepan, and I'm going to put it on a medium heat. And then I'm going to need 3/4 margarine. So if you look here, it says 3/4, sorry, a third cup is 5 1/3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a third. So I cut that. And then I'm going to melt it. Basically, that's all I need to do. So if you had a microwave at home, you could, just melt your margarine right in there. Okay. So that's all I'm doing is just kind of melting this. And then while it's melting, I am going to measure out a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So I'm getting out my brown sugar, and I'm going to, remember we talked about digging down and then just making it be full, and then just patting it in there so you're packing it in. Butter's all spattering here. Kind of stirring that around, getting it to melt. That's all you really want it to do is melt. So, all right, so I got that. And then I accidentally grabbed the wrong pineapple, darn it, at the store. So I have chunks. Whoops. I have chunks. I just messed that up. Chunks. And then, but you could really do it with anything. What's nice about the chunks is that I can spread them around, and it's going to be easier to cut the pineapple upside down cake, and I'll show you that when we get into it. All right, so I got my pan here, and I'm going to get this going first. So I take the margarine that I had. I'm just kind of swirling it around to melt it all the way. You don't need to butter this pan because obviously we have 1/3 cup here. So I'm going to dump it in. So one of the utensils I needed was a saucepan. Okay, and just make that go all the way around. Then you're going to take your brown sugar, and you are going to, trying to get this whole thing in the shot. There we go. And I usually take it out and just kind of crumble it so that it's evenly distributed throughout the butter. Because I don't want like one big hunk of brown sugar on one side and the other side being empty. Okay, so I'm just kind of sprinkling this around. So I needed a cup measure as a utensil or equipment that I needed for this. Okay. Then I would love to have my round circles of pineapple. I just like the looks of that better, obviously. But since I messed that up, I'm just going to go ahead and put my pineapple kind of around. Try to make it look nice. You could, cut these to make them a little thinner if you wanted to. Some people use the tidbits too, which I suppose you could use. They're going to be a little smaller yet. And, you may like the looks of that better. And then I also have some cherries right here, and they have the stems on them, so I'm going to go and pull those off. These are maraschino cherries. And I'm just going to cut them. And I'm just going to cut them in half. And remember, we're going to invert this, so that's why it has its name of upside down cake. And so I want this nice rounded part of the cherry to be seen, so I'm going to place that face down because that's part of the cherry that will come through, and it's a lot prettier than the innards of a cherry. So just going to put those in there at random. And if I had the rings, then I would probably put the cherry in between the ring and then maybe 1 or 2 around the sides. So, that just, to me, that's like a traditional pineapple upside down cake. This I would call untraditional, but you got to improvise when you grab the wrong pineapple. All All right, and then I'm going to set this aside. So I'm not going to need that for a moment. And then I'm going to focus on the next part, which is the cake mix, okay? And you want to read on here that this cake mix is 350 degrees, and it's going to take about 20 to 30 minutes to cook it. And it calls for a half cup of water, but instead I'm going to be using the pineapple juice because it gives it more flavor as pineapple upside down cake. We want that pineapple to come through. So whenever you use a Jiffy product, it's always a folded top, so you don't have to use a knife or anything like that. And I just kind of pinch it so that it's loosened up, and then I go ahead and pour it in. And I just follow the recipe on here. So it calls for 1 egg. I brought my egg in. I'm going to go ahead and crack the egg in. I'm going to give it a couple little, just to kind of break it up a little bit. Would have loved to remember to break that separately, but I'm kind of on a time crunch right now. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and pour in my half a cup of pineapple juice. And I'm going to give that a few turns, and then I'm going to use my hand mixer to mix it the rest of the way up. So if it gets too loud, you may want to turn your volume down so that this doesn't bother you while I'm doing it. Okay, and then I'm going to stop for a minute and use my rubber spatula. Grab it right there. We made granola bars today for nutrition, so if you remember doing that. So you're just going to kind of wipe the edges and then continue. And on the package it says that you're going to do this for 3 to 4 minutes on medium. And then you can go ahead and pour it over the top of your pineapple upside down cake. I'm going to scrape it one more time, and then I'm going to go ahead and put it over the top. Now, if you're at home and you wanted to taste the batter, you can do that. That's your house. But here at school, when we use raw eggs, we don't taste anything just because we don't want to get salmonella, and we just don't know if it's in the egg or not. So to protect you, and we just don't do that. We don't do taste testing on things that have raw products in them that could hurt us. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull these out. And typically you just kind of tap them to get some of the extra batter off. Okay. All right, then I'm going to bring my pineapple upside down cake back over. And what you want to make sure you do is distribute this evenly, okay? So I'm just going to start from one end and work my way around to the other side. Because what I'm trying to prevent is myself from having to spread it around and then disperse my pineapples and maybe some of the brown sugar. I want those to stay intact, so when I flip it over in about 30 minutes, everything is as it was beforehand. Okay, so I'm going to try to just get every morsel out of here. Down. Okay. So this is kind of what pineapple upside down cake is going to look like. You want the top to be a golden brown, almost like the sun, golden brown. You don't want it to be too underdone because the inside right here in the middle will be gooey, and then somebody will eventually get that piece and not be too happy or not care for it. So just make sure the top is a nice golden brown. So we're going to go ahead and put it in the oven for about 30 minutes. And then I will do another video, unfortunately, with it being done so that you can see the end product. Okay, so that's what you'll need. So hopefully you saw all the equipment, you got all the ingredients down and then the correct measurements, and then be able to tell me in words, direction-wise, how I would put this together. So this is Zebka signing off for Pineapple Upside Down Cake.